Hello, heroes! Thank you all for tuning in to episode number 33 of the Nexus podcast. I'm your host, Adam Eastwood, and this week we have one special guest who you've seen before, and no David. But I guess we actually technically do have a David, if you know Bullet. So we have Blizzard and esports enthusiast Ben Blazik.
Good evening, everybody. Glad everyone can join us tonight. And, hopefully we have interesting discussions, even though I'm a little sad that my controversy partner will not be here tonight to argue with me, but we'll make the best of it.
We don't have some kind of like intellectual quote or 80s music quote to start the day off, huh?
This is true. No Canadian jingles or anything.
No Canadian jingles. We have the amazing Josh Williams.
That is me. How is everyone doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well.
Excellent.
And like I've already mentioned, we back for I believe second time on the show. Bullet Catcher, what's going on, man?
I'm doing good, and Ben, if you want, I can try to argue with you. Sorry.
Yeah, we can make that work.
Sorry.
You have to argue and apologize. That's all you have to do, and you've done your job well.
I can do that.
So, like usual, we're going to kind of talk about our week in gaming. We'll start ahead with Bullet. Bullet, what have you been up to in terms of games this past week?
I've just been doing some leveling in WoW with some alts. I've had some family issues last week, so my heart hasn't been in gaming lately, just trying to get over stuff, but it's just been a lot of work and then just bored alt leveling while mourning and everything. But everything's getting better now.
Yeah, well, I hope everything feels better and everything goes good for you and yours.
It's better. It's better now, but it's still rough.
Yeah, it's rough. It takes some time to get over, so I understand. Ben, what have you been up to?
I'm not too much, but my gaming is picking up now that I've been home for a little bit, even though I'm about to leave again. Did Heroes of the Storm, been playing some of that, and my group that I hang out with in my team speak, we have decided to go back to WoW to see what happens. So resubbed to WoW and just kind of playing around with some of my characters and PvPing again. And when I'm not playing games, I'm screwing around trying to get some of my base functionality for that game that I'm developing in place. So
Awesome. Josh, what have you been playing?
I've been playing everything. I've been playing a lot of WoW. Getting to the beta for Warlords, maybe want to go back and play my old characters. I have a Torn Druid that's 85. I want to get to 90 because the new Torn model is amazing. But seeing this old hideous model makes me not want to play him anymore. So I don't know if I'm going to level him to 90 or not. But other than that, I've slowly started dabbling back into Team Fortress 2 with my friend Eric. But that's about it.
You know, it's funny you say that playing in the beta kind of got you wanting to play like live some more. Mm-hmm. I am the exact opposite. As I've been playing in the beta, it makes me not want to go to live because it's like, man, I just need new content. I'm kind of getting a little fed up with some of the stuff. Just keep going over the same stuff over and over again. My raid team finally took down Thok, and they weren't Siegecrafter, and I just can't seem to take him down. And I'm like at that point where it's like, do I want to sub next month? Do I not want to sub? I'm like, I could save the $15 and get more skins and Heroes of the Storm. I'm like, oh, what do I want to do? So for right now, I'm kind of on that edge where I'm like, I might take a couple months off until release at this point, just because the beta is really giving me all my World of Warcraft like needs right now. Like, new content. Now that being said, I'm probably gonna run out of content like super quick.
actually, sorry, Josh.
I was just going to say, my thing is I haven't actually played WoW for a good couple months. So that's my...
And mainly, I still play, but that's also because I'm a greeter in CTR, so, inviting people in gives me something to do at least.
Mm-hmm.
To be in the beta, though, don't you have to have an active WoW subscription?
That I do not know.
That I was talking to that guy that won the contest for the WAD beta key that you gave out, and when he went to go apply it, it forced him to resub back to the original WoW to use it.
I didn't have an active account when I used mine.
Oh, you know what his might... I don't think they've done the PAX East into it yet. Or did they actually let him use it?
But he's in.
now.
Oh, he's in
Yeah.
now, but they let me. That's weird. I wonder. It makes me curious. I'm like, I might just let it like lapse just to test it now. like oh.
That would be his excuse to not resub.
Right. So other than that, I've been playing, as Ben pointed out earlier, a whole lot of Diablo 3. I'm just moving up, playing some Witch Doctor. I actually found that I really like the Witch Doctor again. Yeah, I've been playing him like for the last couple days, and I'm pretty good with him, not gonna lie. I am pretty good.
Don't lie.
And then, of course, Heroes of the Storm. You know, been playing, trying out a couple champions I haven't really played quite as much. That's kind of keeping it fresh for me right now. I think I played Stitches a little bit. I haven't played much of him. I played a game or two with Tychus, I think, at some point. Just because the same people are kind of getting boring without a rank mode. So I kind of need something here, guys. I need something new.
Now, Adam, what would you say if I said you were bluffing
What do you mean if I was bluffing?
on the Heroes of the Storm thing?
I would say that that is a lie. What, are you watching my computer at all times? Like, I am definitely playing a little bit. Not much. I'm not
Potentially.
lying. What?
If I was watching a computer all times, that'd be really creepy, and I'd
know.
probably be creeped out myself.
No, I've been playing just a little bit.
I don't know. I'm looking at my Battle.net friends list, and yeah,
What do you mean?
there's just so
I'm so
many days
confused.
that says offline right now.
Right, I played it like last Friday.
Okay, we're talking about this week in gaming,
What was it
not
at-
last week in gaming.
No, last Friday
This
was
week in gaming.
after we recorded.
But we're talking about this week in
But
gaming.
that was this week, technically.
No, it's not. 'Cause
After
Friday is the end of the
Technically.
week. It's not the beginning of a week.
But it's after the show to this week.
No. We never established that rule, because technically a week starts on Sunday.
Whatever.
Guys, squirrel.
Squirrel.
Where?
Anyways,
Oh,
let's
sorry.
go ahead and kind of move on from this. And let's talk a little bit about the little bit of news that was out there. We got some new skins. We got 2 that we had seen before, kind of hinted at, but they're officially in the game. I'm sure Josh owns at least one of them at this point. Huh, Josh?
Believe it or not, I do not, because I don't play those characters. Even though I love Illidan, I am absolutely horrible with him, and you do not want me on your team as Illidan. So even, the Spectre costume is super awesome. I have not bought it yet. I was this close. Didn't.
And didn't.
No.
So now that gives us 2 Spectres in the game.
Yep.
We have Nova in Spectre form and Illidan in Spectre form. So now we just need a real Spectre. We need Tosh in the game at this point.
That'd be awesome.
Not Daniel Tosh.
And give him a ghost costume.
And give him a ghost costume. But
I'm
then,
sure they will.
Then they have to go and give Illidan a ghost costume. Then it just
Nuh-uh.
gets all weird.
That doesn't make sense. He's Warcraft.
But he has a Spectre costume, though, so... Bullet, what do you think of Candy King Muradin?
I actually kind of like the idea. It's something different out of the box that they're in a weird way tying with Disney, even though they didn't, just because of that whole Candy Crush thing. But just it looks really cool for everything he has. Just something unexpected from what I think they usually do with their heroes.
Yeah, I like the green one, the Candy Apple Muradin, the third tent. What do you think, Ben, of these 2 tents? Spectre, pretty cool?
Spectre is definitely pretty cool. I even though I like how they're doing the whole out of the box thing, I do think the Candy Muradin one is kind of dorky. Muradin is my boy. I really enjoy him, but I will not be buying the Candy skin just because it's not my style. But
I didn't say I
kudos
was
to
going to
them.
buy it. I just liked it.
You don't want to have, like, cotton candy beard and beating people with lollipops?
It's not my style.
It's not your style?
Not my style.
Lollipop beatings are not your style. Got it.
You heard it here first, folks.
But I thought you represented the Lollipop Guild.
I don't know if we can sing that on air.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Anyways,
Yeah.
in terms of other tints, the Spectre. Have you guys seen the purple Spectre tint? The color?
I don't know if
No.
I actually looked at that.
Oh, well, you should, because
Oh.
it is awesome. It is, we have like the purple color for his like shoulders and chest plate and helmet, and then his arms are green with, I guess fel energy would make sense.
So what you're saying is you like the color purple?
Yes. Have you looked at our overlay?
Yeah, I have. Thank you.
The color
Chief.
purple isn't really that bad. I kind of dig it. It's actually it's the hero's color, so kind of hard not to pick it.
So if I get you a purple man suit for BlizzCon, are you gonna wear it?
No, I am way too fat for any kind of a suit like that. I am way too big of a dude to be wearing so little clothing.
Green Man from It's Always Sunny.
Yeah, like that. Those thin, you'd see every fat roll. Oh man, you guys, Ben, you're too much today. You're in rare form.
He brought his A game.
You know what's great? David's going to listen to this. Hopefully he listens to this, and he's going, man, those guys sure did have a lot of fun without me.
Oh man. So we're gonna go ahead and get right into the kind of discussion of the week. Without so much news, I kind of make up a topic and we just kind of roll with it. So this week we're going to really talk about how we feel about the balance of the heroes right now in the current game, kind of how we're feeling about people in terms of, strength in comparison. Ben, if you had to pick one hero who definitely needs to be like kind of dropped down from how strong he is, who would it be?
I guess that would depend on the definition of drop down. But the first thing that comes to mind, now granted, I'm going to put this caveat out there. I play Sergeant Hammer. I like Sergeant Hammer. However, I feel like her range is a bit much, how it can scale up in the talent tree. It gets to a certain point where she can just hit things from so far away. And if your team just stacks up, a little bit in front of you, it just causes a distraction. You can just do everything as Sergeant Hammer. You don't need anything else.
Yeah, I've seen Sergeant Hammer's range get beyond the fog of war, so you can't see anything, so you have to have something there so you can shoot.
Exactly, and that's been an ongoing problem. The matches that I've played this week, I've always seemed to go up against another Sergeant Hammer, whether I was playing Sergeant Hammer or not. I've been rotating between Tychus, Uther, and Sergeant Hammer, and she's always in the match on the other team, at least from what I've been experiencing. And she's always outranging everybody. And it doesn't matter what you do to try to get on top of her, because Sergeant Hammer has not the greatest escape mechanics, but they're pretty decent. They're okay. All you got to do is unsiege and hit Z and just run away. As soon as somebody tries to dive on top of them to break apart the dynamic, they just get swarmed. Sergeant Hammer flies out of the way, drops mines, shoots them back into their team, and their team locks onto them, and that's over. They won the team fight at that point. So I feel like the range needs to get knocked down a peg or two.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you think it's just because it's in certain team comps it works really well, or do you think it's just no matter what, it's an issue? It's
always going to depend on the player, of course. But I mean, at this point, if anybody who is in the alpha and they're at least in some type of manner where they want to play this beyond alpha to even if a semi-serious competitive nature, they're watching streams, it's not hard to pick up her mechanics very early. She's not someone that takes a lifetime to master, which it doesn't make her a bad hero, but the team comp is always changing, so I don't really think it has to do much with the team comp. I think the individual players are definitely not bad, but I also saw some really bad Sergeant Hammers, their mechanics in fights just were not there. You could tell that they didn't quite understand fully what to do in a team fight. However, as soon as the team fights were over and their team was at least slightly putting pressure on my team, Sergeant Hammer sieged up, moving while sieged, and just laying waste to all of our forts. Mm-hmm. And they're right on top of the palace, and that's it.
Now you're saying laying waste not to your forts. Do you think it's about equal to something like, say, Gazzo's able to take down a fort, or do you think it's a little stronger, or do you think it's in line kind of with the other specialists at that point?
I'd say Gazlo can do it a lot faster because all he's got to do is pop that heroic ability and then just go to town. Mm-hmm. But the simple fact that Gazlo has to get on top of the fort at least put some balance back into play there. With Sergeant Hammer, it doesn't have to sit anywhere near the fight at all. They can sit completely outside of the base once they've upgraded their range and just go at it. And then Sergeant Hammer, like an opposing Sergeant Hammer, if they take Napalm Strike and then they upgrade it at level 20, that their siege even outranges that thing. And that is a skill that can pretty much go out and touch people. I use that to intercept people all the time that escape from a team fight, and the opposing Sergeant Hammers can outrange that ability, which is ridiculous, just in siege mode.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Bullet, what are your feelings on anyone that's in particular that's slightly overpowered, might need a little bit of changes?
I know I'm slightly rusty because I haven't played too much, but I still think Lily's slightly overpowered just with the fact that it's still really hard to kill her. Mm-hmm. I mean, she can heal herself to the point where I've seen her take on 2-3 people and live. Not kill anyone, but lived. So I think she needs to be toned down some. I'm just not sure how to do it properly.
I would agree 100% with that. One thing I think is they need to take away her ability to heal herself with her Q, like they had it before.
Either take that away, or when she heals herself, it does a significant amount less.
Yeah, because if she drops the was it 1,000 kegs or 10,000 kegs, she just can heal up to full in no time and just keep running. And her speed being increased after getting attacked gets her kind of out of dodge quickly.
And pair her with another healer, and nobody on your team's ever going to die.
Well, like Malfurion right now, I think last week we went up against, was it a Lilian and Malfurion?
I think so.
And the two of them now are just no one dies. Like Malfurion, I think, got a little bit of buff in terms of healing. She got it, the ability to heal herself, even with the jugs. And man, I feel the pain. Like, it's tough. You should be able to kill her. Like,
she's a little girl, to be honest. Come on, you're telling me Diablo can't eat her for breakfast?
Oh man, but yeah, I'd agree with that 100%. Josh, what about you?
The hero I have the most trouble going against because it just seems so powerful is Vala. I don't know if you guys ever came across her and having any issues, but every time I go across her, she just eats me alive. I don't know why. She does a little spin attack ultimate. I think that's the ultimate, and it just annihilates me every time. I think her attack speed thing is kind of... Her attack speed's kind of fast for her because everyone's at the same... But she can make hers go faster.
Who are you primarily playing as when you go up against her?
Different people. Sometimes Lich King, sometimes Zagara. Those have been the past two heroes I've been playing a lot lately. So she can, to me, and maybe I'm just suck, but she destroys me every time. Anytime I see her, I try to get out there because that little spinning ultimate just does so much damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty bad. I can't even think of the name of it because I haven't played her much at all. But that spinning ultimate is just deals so much damage so quickly, and it slows you down, if I remember too, right?
I think
either that or she moves faster. I forget.
It's one or the other because I feel like she's constantly catching up to me. I'm like, I should be able to outrange this, and I just can't. For me, I still feel though that Zeratul is a little powerful. More or less just because he's so, like, for example, we'll compare him to like Illidan, who I would say is probably who he should be most in line with because he's the melee assassin type. I feel like with Illidan, if you commit to killing someone, you get in, if it goes wrong, you have no quick way of getting out. Where with Zeratul, you have that, you get in and then you can just basically flash out. I feel like it's a little too powerful. Where if he makes a mistake, if Zeratul makes a mistake of going in on someone who he's not gonna be able to kill first, he has an escape. Where other melee assassins don't quite have that same escape mechanic, which makes them a little strong. Does that make sense? What I'm saying, Ben?
Yeah. I'm following.
Okay, I'm just like making sure you guys are following what I'm saying. So I feel like they either need to make it so Zeratul has less health and make him a little bit weaker so that way he has to escape a little sooner, or they need to do something with his like poofing out where I don't know what they could do with that, but it just seems like if he's able to get out so quickly and then, he should be able to take most people on one-on-one, but if like he comes in on like a warrior and he's a level 2 behind, he shouldn't be able to get away from that so easily. Because Illidan runs the problem where he can't get away from that easily.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I mean, if you can catch him, he goes down fast, but catching him's the hard part, and not letting him attack you first is the other hard part. Because if he attacks you first, depending on who you are, you're probably going to go down fast.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely a strong hero at this point. Ben, who would you give a buff to at this point? Someone who you feel like just needs a little bit of something to make him better.
I feel like it's gonna be really hard in my corner just because my hero rotation lately has been smaller. But I don't know if this would necessarily be a buff or not, but I kind of want to change Tychus a little bit. just because the only problem with Tychus, granted he's got the ability to spin up his gun before going into combat, is that if people jump in on top of him, his natural reaction at that point is to throw down the grenade to try to knock him back. And then either, depending on where he is in position of his towers and his forts, he can dash away or dash further into them to spin up his gun. But I feel like Tychus's reactions just might not be as fast as they could be right now. So I don't know if I necessarily want to change his abilities or just kind of maybe ramp up the way that his gun speeds up. But I feel like Tychus just isn't quite where he should be yet. But that's just my personal opinion. I play him a lot. I go up against Tychus a lot too. But I don't feel like his gun is in the right place right now.
Now, in terms of other kind of ranged assassin types, do you think, like, if you went, say, one-on-one with like either Raynor or Nova, do you think there's any one-on-one potential to kind of gauge him against?
One-on-one against Raynor is actually quite difficult because Raynor can, number one, it can knock you back, and number two, he just regens health. You have to be able to stop Raynor from running away, one, but that's also a risky proposition because if that Raynor at that point realizes that all he's got to do, if his cooldowns are up and he repops health, then all he's got to do is turn around and knock you back and outside of range, because with Tychus you have to be in a lot closer than you do with Raynor. And you have to speed up your gun. So Raynor has an advantage to where he can pop shot and keep moving. Tychus doesn't have that unless his Q is up. In a one-on-one, Raynor wins majority of the time. You have to catch Raynor off guard in order to win. That, well, I don't know if it's this week or last week. I was doing a lot of Blackheart's Bay, just kept popping up, and somehow I just kept getting one-on-one against Raynor, like in mid and top lane. It just kept happening. So it was a little bit of a rough game. I had to come out and sneak up on him in order to get it. But if you take Vampiric and kind of have a small amount of sustain, and you can throw him off guard with your grenade, then you can probably come out ahead. But in a straight-up one-on-one, he doesn't really win too often.
Now, in terms of, like, kind of, we'll say, a certain type melee ranged assassins, do you feel as though it should have, like, a rock, paper, scissors feel to it, where one person beats one person, the other person beats the other? Or do you feel like there should be, it's all skill, and whoever is a better player should be able to kind of win that matchup?
I feel, well, that's just me and my competitive nature coming out. I feel like it should always come down to the skilled player. I don't like it in an environment when somebody who's been playing for one day can come out of the box and just abuse the mechanics and beat somebody who's been playing for 3 years. I think
you don't want your Blastoise to be taken down by a Bulbasaur.
It's a pretty interesting comparison. I like it.
I'm just
a comparison that I have no idea what it even means.
I'm following him, and I'm kind of surprised he brought it out.
It's basically the rock paper scissors. You don't want to have someone who's constantly throwing rock and you're dominating, all of a sudden someone who's new throwing out paper and destroying him for no reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think if you get into ranked play where they have a picks and bans phase to it, I think that changes the dynamic a little bit, where there can be a slight difference, but in a random matches like they are now, you really need them to be equal, like you said, and the better player wins, because you can't like make up for it by picking, counter picking, be like, oh yeah, this guy picked his assassin early, so we can pick our assassin late and kind of pick a counter to it. So we don't have that option yet. So that'll change, when we get ranked in custom modes and stuff like that. Bullet, how about you? Do you have a feeling on who's a little weak right now?
I honestly think Sonya the Barbarian's a little weak, just because as ETC, I destroy her all the time, just because her tankiness isn't tanky enough. And if she misses her first attack, her DPS is just horrible. She can do the damage if she can get off good, but that comes at a major sacrifice to any tanking she could do, which is very minimal anyway for a tank. It's almost any game I go against, if I'm in the same lane as her, I don't even sweat anymore, because I know that almost any character I play as can, at worst, hold her at bay, and at best, I'm going to get 3 kills easy towards the beginning of the game. Just flat out.
Yeah, just a flat out, no worries, especially if you're warrior versus warrior. I've never had any problems with her as well.
I've even had, teamed up like me and another person, almost any other spec against her, and even like Hammer, and she just can't stay alive. It's no matter who it is paired with her, she goes down because she can't do anything. Late game she gets a little better, but early game she doesn't have anything you need.
Now, do you think it might have something to do with the fact that she doesn't like have like traditional mana like the other, well, majority of the heroes? You know,
Well,
she has rage.
It's either that or they need to make it so her base tank abilities are at least on par with everyone else's before the rage issue. Because if she can't take a hit, it doesn't matter how much rage you get, she's still going to go down.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like in any MMO or anything. If you don't have armor, you're not going to survive.
Yeah, because I know it's a little, you know, definitely different, you know, because she has to build up her rage in order to really do anything.
I like that mechanic because it plays into what her character is. It's just
right.
if you can't.
I'm not disagreeing.
I mean, I think it's actually a great thought to do. It's just if they need to do something to make her so she's not squishy.
Right, she's not squishy. But one of my things is, I think one of her bigger problems is, she has leap that she can take as her R, but everything else is just all damaging abilities. But so she's a warrior with all damaging abilities, no defensive abilities. So
no stun, no real
stun,
heal.
Yeah. So I think that's where we're kind of seeing like a problem with her in terms of relative strength to other warriors. Because, you know, you look at Material. I use him as an example all the time because he has a shield he can put up. He has a teleport. You know, we can throw out a sword and teleport to it. You can use that offensively or defensively. And the same with the Smite, where he puts on the ground, he gets a speed boost, offense or defense. So he has more mobility.
ETC is the same way. He can run in, he can knock you back, and then he can heal himself and get speed boost and run out if he has to.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the tanks have that but her.
Yes. And even, like, we've made fun of Arthas a ton about this, is he can at least slow down the enemy and freeze them in place. And even though he can't move faster, he stops the other people from moving.
Which is just as good in a weird way.
Yeah. So right now, I think it's really Sonya is kind of the big problem. They need to give her something that's a defensive ability opposed to an offensive ability.
Or make her assassin. She's just not a tank at the moment.
Right, exactly. Make her assassin and up her damage.
This is where I feel like the system that we have now, where it's assassin, warrior, support, and specialist, is just not dynamic enough to really throw everybody into play. We need more classifications like brawlers and, you know, stuff like that, and not necessarily just like assassins. Because like when I think Tychus, he's not an assassin really.
They need to take the especially for some of the melee, but just have a different attack type of thing. Because if you're not a quick killer, you're not an assassin. You're just a brute.
Yep.
It's like they might as well just say damage dealer at this point. I mean, but yeah, I agree.
Let's get really basic now.
Well, you deal damage, you assassinate, you tank. But that's the thing. The warrior, they don't straight up say it's a tank. You know, it's not in League of Legends. They actually have a tank specification, and so I think that's kind of the main difference. And tanks tends to be more support in League of Legends than its own specification. Josh, what are your feelings? Anyone in particular that you feel is a little low?
I'm trying to think because I only play as a select few heroes.
And if they're not overpowered, you don't play them?
Precisely.
Hard. Now, I played Zagara and Lich King. And Lich King's not overpowered yet. He can take some tweaks, but... Wow. I don't know. I can't... I was trying to think of it when you guys were talking, but I can't think of any that I personally play. Even though I own all the heroes, I only play like 2 or 3. I can't think of any. Mine's a blank for those. The whole time you guys were talking, I was like, who can I talk about? I mean, a Lich King can use a little work, but I mean, he's still pretty good where he's at now. And Zagara, of course, since she's new, of course, she's kind of, depending on how you play her, she can be very powerful. So it's like,
You know, it's fun. I'm agreeing with Bullet. That was going to be my choice. You know, I really felt Sonya was the weak one at this point. And so I don't have anyone else to really talk about as well. But I think they're doing pretty good overall. I mean, what do you think, Ben? As an overall look at it, do you feel we're in a good place for still being, a technical alpha?
Absolutely, man. I mean, like, the amount, and this goes back to everything we've talked about before, the amount of detail that they look and put into everything. I mean, we're in a technical alpha phase, and typically, depending on what kind of game we're talking about, not a whole lot of balance happens in a technical alpha phase, or an alpha phase for that matter. But now I'm stuck on the word technical alpha. I mean, it's never going to be a fully winning thing, because the problem when games where you have classes and everybody can do different abilities and it's not like a mirror matchup with mechanics and guns and stuff like that, you're always going to have something that's out of line and the game's never going to be fully 100% balanced. However, I have complete confidence in that team because for the most part it's the same team as the StarCraft team, and for a long time, whether you agree with this or not, or anybody else disagrees, for a long time, StarCraft 2 was balanced within 1% to 2% of all the races. And so, I mean, it's going to take a little bit of time to get there, especially it being the genre that it is, but we're not doing bad. We could be doing a lot worse, so we're doing good.
And Bullet, what are your kind of final thoughts on the
I agree. I think that they're pretty balanced. I mean, there's certain compositions. I'm not saying like certain characters, but if you have too many of something and not a tank, you're going to be struggling no matter what. If you have 2 tanks and no support, you're going to be. If they could get it slightly more balanced, where if you don't have a support, you don't have a tank, you're not going to be crushed, because sometimes it feels that way with what you're playing against. If they can make it so a group of 5 of almost anything can work, but that's also player skill that comes in too. Because you could have 5 people who just started, have a team that wins all the time against 5 people who play forever, and they're all support. The team who always plays is still probably going to win because they know what they're doing. But I mean, so it comes with some skill. But I think overall it's pretty balanced. And again, we're still in the tweak phase. We're still getting characters added constantly. So once we have a more complete, rounded out thing going into beta, it'll be easier to fully tell how good it is. But it's still pretty close overall.
And Josh, your final words?
Yeah, I say for it being the technical alpha, it's pretty darn close. For balance, I think it's very good right now. It can only get better, I hope. I hope they don't do some patch that just like throws it all over the place. I don't think they will, though, it's Blizzard. But who knows?
And this week, everyone who can shoot a gun one-shots you.
Yeah. I find out in this game, like in most other MOBAs, it's a lot of player skill. Like sometimes when I go against Illidan, he seems powerful, and then I play Illidan and I suck with him and get destroyed. So it's a lot of player skill too that's making the balance seem to work. So I say it's pretty good where it's at, getting there at least. It's not perfect yet, but it's getting pretty darn good for it being the technical alpha.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement with you there. I think that some of the big things we need are like the ranked place. We can actually really start to see kind of what's going on.
Start seeing what the best of the best can do.
Yeah, what the best of the best can do. Plus, see what happens when there's a pick and ban phase, when you know what your enemy's going up with, what your teammates are choosing before going in, because it lets you actually pick. Unless you're, obviously we play in a groups of 5 sometimes, and we know, we kind of pick a team ahead of time, but don't always get that. And I think they'll see it once they can test those, team building, features. So I think that's pretty much it in terms of balance. I don't know where I was going with that one, but I think we're going to go ahead and move on to our battle report for this week. We are going to be going over the Haunted Mines. Now, for those of you who haven't either watched the stream or have no idea what the Haunted Mines is, it's basically just a 2-lane version of the generic MOBA map. And, the kind of the special objective in there is that you want to go down into the mines, collect skulls off of the undead in there, which will then either, well, I guess not either, but it will make your grave golem stronger. And then depending on how many you choose, yours might be stronger than your enemies. Your enemies might be stronger than yours. Kind of, depending on what kind of route you go when you go down there, because it's a lot of different people do a couple different things with it. Ben, what are your kind of basic tips and tricks for the battleground?
So, I originally wanted to come into the tonight with a whole new list of things to talk about regarding this map. However, being the game that it is right now and versus mode being random, I have not drawn Haunted Mines in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it has been 2 weeks since I have drawn the map, period. And so I'm kind of like at a loss right now. So, anyways,
So you're trying to remember what the map even looks like right now.
Yeah, like I'm trying to like, what is the current meta right now? Like, what is everybody doing nowadays? So from what I remember, which is also one of my biggest gripes about the map because it has one of the biggest problems with the mechanic. The whole ideal of the map, of course, is when the mines open, go down below and get the skulls to empower your golem for when it comes up. Now, there's a ton of strategies revolving around that as far as only getting a certain amount of skulls, negating the enemy team. Like, if the enemy team gets 100 skulls, they get a health bonus to their golem. So at least negating the full 100, but using merc camps at the top to push lanes and so on. I'm not too sure if that's still going on right now or not, just because I haven't been able to draw the map for 2 weeks. But
from what I've seen on, like, I follow that Reddit, I've still seen quite a few. We beat the other team in 7 minutes because they went down and we just took all the minions and pushed.
Correct.
So that's still going on.
Now, the concept of the map itself is great, like having a 2-piece map. And, they were talking about at BlizzCon how it was like a crazy thing for them to try to do, but they were excited about it, so they did it. But in my opinion, it's one of the largest problem maps because of that. There's too much that can go wrong when the mines open. And granted, you can look at it from the angle of different strategies, but if you have a team that all know how to win in 7 minutes, if the enemy team goes into the mines, it's over. Like, they can push all the way to the Nexus in the first mine opening, and it's a little nuts. So, being from a competitive standpoint, my recommendation is don't go to the mines at the beginning of the opening. The only thing that I would sometimes have people do is go down, grab like 5 skulls, negate the enemy team, a full 100 golem just in case we couldn't win, and hopefully we have a specialist on our team like Gazlo. We're gonna push all those camps and I, me being Tychus, I can drop the towers right in front of a fort in a matter of seconds. I just spin up my gun and they're dead. Like, I can drop towers like no other. So it's pretty much what we've been doing. But I don't know how much that's going to change going forward. And I actually hope to see that change because with it being the type of map that it is with the 2 parts, I feel like the mechanic is just overly broken right now, and I would love to see it play out the way it's supposed to. But I mean, at that point, you would almost have to disable play on the top map, and by that point,
actually, I was going to ask you: do you think they should do what they do with the Dragon Knight, where as soon as the mines open, the minions go away? Because if they do that, that's going to put focus on that bottom part of the map where you have to prevent them from getting as many skulls as they can.
it would be. I would like to see it done just
Like
to see how it
do
plays.
a month of testing to see how it works.
But here's my thing about that. If that happened, I would be like, okay, so let's take. If we had like I love Uther, for example, just because of his brawly nature and the fact that he can like stay alive. I'd be like, okay, if we have an Uther and maybe like someone else who can really dive into people's faces, like an ETC or something, like you two go down to the mines and just harass them, because I would do that in the Haunted Mines. Is like Uther, if they would be on top of the golem, I would like dance around and I would pull their, like I remember one fight that happened a couple weeks ago. Last time I played, I pulled their Diablo off of the main golem downstairs, and there was 2 other people that were shooting it. And I was just like stunning the Diablo and going back and forth, keeping myself healed so he could never kill me. And finally, right before they killed it, I ran in, Divine Storm, stunned all of them, and took all the skulls. So if you could have somebody do something like that, and at least pull them away and distract them, I would stay in the top lane and push a lane all the way in as Tychus. Like, because of the fact that I wouldn't have any opposition, really.
You know, I think kind of what you were talking about earlier about staying out of the mines really hints to like kind of one of my major tips for it is before going into the mines, try and figure out what your opponent's plans are and then react. I think it's more reactive than proactive in terms of going into the mines, because like you said, you could lose in 7 minutes if you make the wrong choice. And if that means you're fighting up top with the other enemy team and no one's going in the mines, it's better than losing the game.
Yeah, that you just have one person go down and start stealing them, because you can get everything but the golem by yourself pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. The funny thing about it is, you would think, because you're going in, you're killing like little tiny minions. You would think assassins would possibly be a good choice to send into the mines, but I feel like they're not. I think warriors are the best option for going down into the mines, other than obviously
Gazlo and Witch Doctor.
Gazlo, Witch Doctor, your specialists who kill minions. I know Tyrael and Diablo can go down to the mines, and they can clear small minion packs so quickly because they do a lot of like AoE damage.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're an assassin, you actually run into a lot of problems like of almost dying in the mines. I've done that a couple times as Nova.
Yep.
Any other kind of tips, Josh, that you might have for people that are going out into the mines?
Well, you guys basically covered it, because minions are or not minions, mercs are like the best things you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if you don't do that, it's harder to come back from that first merc push when everyone goes down into the mine than it is to not try to get the mercs. So, I mean, getting those mercs first is definitely a key factor you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to move into like our individual hero kind of hints and tricks. Normally I'd go over Gazlo, but it's the same tricks in this as in any other map for Gazlo if you're going to use him as a mercenary killer. Same levels you can take things out. Second Haunted Mines, you can solo the Grave Golem. So I'm going to kind of talk about Nova a little bit. She's my assassin of choice. I find that I always use triple tap. It just helps you to kind of clear out individual enemies all at once. A little trick that I use with her, because she can cloak, I would say this would work with Zeratul as well, is when you can go down into mines and not pick off a couple here and there, but use your cloak to kind of sneak in if the enemy team is killing the Grave Golem in the center, and then just scoop up as many as you can by running through, because if they're not paying attention, you can pick up a huge number of them and not take too much damage in return, because some people will assume that their teammates picked them up, and they'll be like, oh, cool, they got him.
Until they see that all of a sudden the other team has 40 and they don't.
Right, but no one really pays attention to the bottom right-hand side of their screen anyways until it's too late, until you're already running away. Bullet, ETC, what are your kind of tips for ETC?
This is another one where I really like getting stage dive because of your ability to either be on the bottom and jump up top, or be up top and jump down to wherever needs help. So if you're going to be the person who goes down by himself to get minions, if all of a sudden you see there's a big team fight that needs help, you can stage dive straight back to wherever they are, and there's not an issue. So it's not like if they're saying we need help now, you can wait that extra couple seconds before you go back, because you don't have that big run. You have a 5-second cast. So that's one of my main things. I mean, it's also good because you can do like your knockback with the minions, so you can get them do a little AoE, but that stage dive on that map in particular is really good. This is one of my favorite maps to play, just because I do like the 2-tier thing. I do agree they need to get the mercenaries versus underground fixed, but I especially like the fact that I can do one or the other, and whoever needs help, I can just jump wherever they need the help, and that makes it quicker. I'm pretty sure Fausted can do the same thing, so either one of them, if you can bounce around top to bottom, it's quicker than anyone else getting anywhere.
And Josh, what are your kind of tricks for Malfurion?
Entangled Roots and his was it Tranquility? Is that the ultimate of the heals everybody? I always forget names of spells.
Yes.
Those two things are awesome on this map, because if you're going against a good team, they might be going for mercs, or they might try to go for golem, and if you guys go for golem at the same time, then there's going to be a lot of team battles, and you being able to entangle roots and also being able to do AoE heals, and it's very helpful in team fights, especially if something is close quarters, because this map is kind of small, so having Malfurion is kind of nice for the entangled roots and heals. That's what I usually do with him in this summit. He's a support, so he's supposed to heal anyways, but his entangled roots, I think, is very helpful on this map.
Okay. And Ben, we'll go with you with your regular Uther. What are your tricks for him?
So I feel like I kind of gave away a little bit of that in the beginning. I really, when I'm not like able to stay with my team and support them because I'm all about healing and providing them with stuns, I am all about harassing the enemy in the mine. If we're pushing the top lanes, because of the fact, as long as you don't have 4 people chasing you and stunning you, you can usually pretty much stay up. I take the ability where as long as I'm hitting, I'm gaining mana back. And I'll go just run around, stun, heal myself when necessary, throw a Holy Radiance out, and I'll usually try to wait for them to pop on top of the golem underneath, and then pop a Divine Storm at the last minute to gather all the skulls. If I can't make that happen, then I'll at least try to get my team down there so that way I can use the Divine Storm as a measure of swooping everybody together and initiating a team fight. Mainly just a lot about harass, and I find that I'm able to, like, if you have decently balanced teams, sometimes you end up fighting over the mine entrance, and if you maybe have to back off the mine entrance for like a second, they'll go down there. As Uther, because I have a pretty good sustain and I don't really ever run out of mana, I just run up to their tower and I start tanking the tower and I start damaging the tower, and I force them to come back out of the mine because I'm about to blow down the whole wall and take the fort with me.
Yeah, that's definitely a good good hint. And like you said, you kind of give away a little early. You're showing your hand too early there.
Or did I?
Or did you? So kind of stand in for David. I know he likes to use the Witch Doctor. Everyone knows that. One of my biggest kind of tricks for him when I have had the chance to play him on Haunted Mines is use your zombie wall to either stop people from coming out of the mines or going into the mines. So like if you know someone's about to kind of come in right after you, you can drop your zombie wall down, and then they get stuck behind the zombie wall. They can't, come in, and it kind of gives you a little bit of kind of a head start if they're like right behind you.
Isn't it Tacitus Force Wall can do the same thing?
Tacitus Force Wall, yeah. Anything that's like barrier blocking will work really well with that. So you can actually kind of keep them out of the mines as long as possible. Give yourself a little bit of extra time. Josh, you kind of stole Tyrael for me, so you can kind of go ahead and give some tricks for Tyrael.
This is mic cut out?
Sorry, I forgot. I switched it up. Tyrael, I mean, he has that, the sword you can throw to help get you somewhere faster, or chase people away, and then he also has the charge. And like I said, I'm horrible with names of spells. Whatever that is, he puts on the ground smite. To where he can smite, and that can slow down enemies, and then he can speed you up too. So that really is helpful if you're going to do merc camps, doing all that stuff and chasing away the enemy team who might be trying to do them as well, because he can teleport to places, he can move faster, and, charge them, stun them, throw his sword. If they try to run away towards that way, you can teleport to your sword if it's still there, and you can throw down smite and all that good stuff. That's how I use him. It's more of, I guess, would it be considered crowd control in a sense? That's how I use him. I don't know if that would be considered crowd control or not, but yeah, that's kind of how I feel when I play him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I would say is when, say you're going down to the mines and you're actually, trying to clear the little camps up, when you use your you throw your sword of Eldrune, always aim a little closer to you than you would think, because once you hit them with the first one, they're gonna, obviously aggro and come at you, and there's a little bit of time where you have to wait for the cooldown to show up before you can hit it again to teleport and do damage again. So you actually make sure to hit them twice. It's kind of like my little kind of trick with that, is aim a little bit closer to you, so that way they're actually running at you and you hit them again. That tends to work really well. You get a little more extra, damage in there on the undead in the bottom, in the mines. So, Bullet. Who else are you going to talk about today?
Actually, yeah, I was thinking about it, and while I haven't played him much, have played with him, and despite his annoyances, he does have one really good thing since it's a 2-lane. The golems always go on the same side, so with him, one of the things I've seen really work well is when the golem's pushing bottom, he goes top. They're not going to be paying as much attention to top until he's already destroyed stuff, and as soon as they go after him, he's on bottom again. So usually one of the best things for Murky is to attack the opposite of the golem because they're going to be focusing there and not where you're going. It's just one of those. There's a big distraction, so you can go the other direction. I've actually been in a game where we were behind, and all of a sudden the Murky started doing that, and we came out of nowhere and beat him. Everyone but me was complaining because he was disappearing, and I knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah. I've done that as Murky before, where you go the other side, and everyone, people are like, why aren't you attacking the same side as the golem? Be like, because I can get through, and they're going to be paying attention to the golem.
It might be 5-on-4 down there, but I just took out a fort.
Right, and you get XP for forts, and XP is always good. Tychus now. What are your little hints on Tychus there, Ben?
So in Haunted Mines, without a doubt, I always take Vampiric. I take the upgrade to my attack speed upon 3 seconds of attacking. I actually take the laser drill too. If we get into situations where we get a decent sized golem, or maybe let's say it's like 60-40, you still definitely want to shut their golem down as fast as possible. So I'll let my team jump ahead with ours, and I'll sit on top of our wall. As soon as the golem gets up to it, I'll drop the laser drill on top of it, and it'll start focusing the golem. Just get it burnt down as fast as possible. And then if their team is trying to push with that golem instead of defend, I'll try to use it to my advantage a little bit, and I take the upgrade to the grenade, and I'll actually knock them. If the wall is still up at this point, I will knock them through the wall and focus my laser on top of them and trap them behind the wall, and then just burn them down. So I play him a little bit more defensively on Haunted Mines, but I still use my same tactics from the other maps as well, where any chance I get, if you leave me alone with your towers for even like 20 seconds, they are going to go down. I'm going to dash in on top of the tower to speed up my gun, and I'm just going to start ripping them down.
And the last kind of tips, tricks that you guys thought of before we kind of close this out?
When?
Don't die.
WIN.
Oh, win. Well, that's your trick for every game. Win. That's the objective. That's
Don't suck.
Don't suck.
Win and don't suck. Those are the two biggest
that?
things we can tell you.
Actually, there's one other thing in this one. Don't take on 100 skulls golem by yourself.
Yeah, that's a big no.
Why not? What could be wrong with that?
Because usually you get your face hit.
Well, now doesn't the golem like automatically go towards the things and will only cast his stomp when there's 2 people within range?
Not sure on that. It's been a little while.
I think it's 2 people in range now. So if like Gazlo, for example, you want to let Gazlo handle him on his own. Otherwise, he's going to start stomping, and then Gazlo gets stuck, and then it actually slows down him being able to kill the golem with his Robo Goblin ability, which pretty much everyone takes on this. Okay, so that'll do it for tonight's show. I want to thank everybody for coming. Bullet, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
Easiest ways to contact me are bulletcatcher02@gmail.com or bulletcatcher02 on Twitter.
Okay, and Ben, where can people get a hold of you?
As always, you can find me on Twitter at Stacks and Packs, STAKSNPAKS. Pretty much always on there. You can just hit me up, if you want to play Heroes, Adam, as you should be doing, because we haven't played together in a while, and I'm kind of sad. I don't think I'm really ready to talk about my project that I'm working on yet, so I think I'll just leave it there for now.
Well, when you are ready, you have to make the announcement on the show.
Will do.
Josh, where can people get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of me on Twitter at Pakawan_AIE. It's spelled PAKKUAN_AIE. Tweet me on there, and I'll more than likely tweet you back.
Okay, and you can reach me at Geek of Random on Twitter, or the show directly at The Nexus Podcast. Please send in any of your questions to show@heroesofthenexus.com. For those of you who are listening through either iTunes, Stitcher, Windows Marketplace, please give us some ratings. We'll kind of let you know. We'll shout out on here based on whatever you give us. And if you want to join us live, we record every week at twitch.tv/heroesofthenexus on Fridays at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. That's 7 Pacific for those who can't do math. No. You can definitely help out the show. Go to patreon.com/thenexus. We're part of the Catalyst Gaming Media. Go to catalystgamingmedia.com for more shows, great podcast videos, shows like The Sundering and Monk Meditation, which you can also find me on every other Monday. And also on Saturday nights at 11 Eastern Time, we do Saturday Night Showdown at this time, where right now we're doing some head-to-head Hearthstone matches. So come join me as I try to shoutcast. I'm not that great, but we have a great time. I want to thank you all for coming. Have yourselves a great weekend, and we will see you in the Nexus. Goodbye.
Night, everybody. Take it easy.
Okay, and you can stop your recording. Yay, show's done. I'm just kidding.
I stopped.
Why is my cat biting me?
I don't know. Are you tasty? I don't know. Don't answer.
No, he bites everybody.
I don't want to know. Don't answer that one.
Don't
I'm
answer
going to-
that.
I'll be back in half a sec. I'm going to kick him out of the room.
Okay.
Jeez.
Thanks
Mute your
again,
mic.
chat room. I love it when you guys come.
I don't. Just kidding. Love ya.
DJ Billy Hep, Tahu, aka.
Super Siler, if you're still in there. You're just farting around.
Yeah, so I think that's about it. I think I'm going to take it down pretty quick tonight. Send us your questions. Yes, we need questions to answer. That's how we're going to actually be able to have full shows in the near future when the news completely dries up. Hopefully, we get some new stuff soon. I think we're 2 weeks away from another hero. But I don't know
also,
which.
not just that, but also we should like branch out a little bit more too, like where we need to go back to like that whole idea where we have practice nights.
Right.
So that way we can sit there and we can mash out like 20 games together in a competitive format, and I'll pull my competitive Hitler and we'll do our regiment, and then that way we can take
Exactly.
notes.
Take notes
then-
and give strategies, specific
Yeah.
like, strategies, because we're gonna have to, because we're gonna start. We have one more battleground left, and then we have to come up with a new segment. So we're gonna go down. I want to thank you all again. Have yourselves a great weekend.
Bye, chat room.